Reds starting pitcher Trevor Bauer has just came off his worst start of the season for the Reds, which all in all wasn't too shabby, still allowing 4 runs in 6.1 innings pitched. If anything, it's just been a small blip in the radar for a guy that has had an outstanding season so far for this Cincinnati Reds, a season that thus far has seen Trevor Bauer go out there with a 3-1 record, a 1.65 ERA, 45 Ks in over 32.2 innings pitched so far. And for that reason, there's a lot of question marks surrounding Trevor Bauer's status with this Cincinnati Reds team as far as the end of this season, as far as a contract extension. Do they want to pay him? I mean, I think he's a guy, you say what, 18, 22 million a year type of range for this guy? Maybe more, depending on, once you hit free agency, depending on how well of a season he has this year. He has a great season this year. All of a sudden, you have 2 really good looking seasons in that, career department as far as from a statistical standpoint is concerned. And maybe even more importantly, does he even want to play here, right? Like, he's been here a year and a half at the end of the day. He's been a guy that's, played in Ohio for the most part of his career, though. So there is, that to look forward to. It's not like he went from San Francisco to Cincinnati for a season and a half. He was up in Cleveland. So that's a big question. He may not even want to sign an extension with these Cincinnati Reds. And that's where the question gets raised. What if he doesn't? What if the Reds don't want to pay this guy that kind of money? This is a team that is currently in 4th place in the division, in the middle of a series with the Brewers and an 8-game stretch with them and the Cubs, where I think the Reds need to take, I would say, probably 6 of 8. Probably need to take 6 of 8 here to keep these playoff hopes alive, even though it is a more expanded playoff format this year. It'd be easier for them to make it regardless. But let's say they don't. Let's say they drop, 5 of 8 or 6 of 8, and they're 5, 6, 7 games below 500 coming into the trade deadline. And it's a team that, albeit has been struggling in multiple areas, has some managerial decisions to blame for some of these struggles, no questions about it. I mean, what do we look at? Just as early as this Monday. This Monday, the Reds put the hottest hitter on this team in the 7th spot in the lineup. Behind, I don't care who's on the mound, this lefty-righty matchup, play the best players you got type of deal here. Clearly, if this play in the lefty matchup was working so well, never mind. That's not what we're here to talk about, right? We can go on about that forever. But he is batting 7th behind guys batting 200, 154, 214, 194, and 094 on the season, to say the very least. But, when you look at averages like that, there's another part of the equation here. I mean, yeah, there's been some rocky managerial decisions, but there's been some areas that have been completely out of managerial concern or control. You don't expect guys like Suarez to bat 154. You don't expect guys like Michael Lorenzen to struggle as badly as he has been out of the pen. You expected those guys to be the core of this team, your setup man, your 3-hole hitter, guys you expected to help win games, which makes the decision to be a buyer or a seller that much harder, because you want to believe these guys will turn it around, and you want to believe this team can get hot and make some noise in playoffs. And I still do personally believe in this team. I believe in them turning it around. The manager, on the other hand, is a completely different story. I still do worry about these guys. It's a serious concern. I don't want to harp on the manager, but it is a serious concern that you see some of these guys get hot and then he benches them. Or he plays them 50-50, or he throws them 7th in the order, and instead of them batting, 3rd, 4th, or 5th, they're batting 7th. So a guy that 2 weeks ago wasn't even worthy enough to be on the roster can slot in at the 3 and 4 hole in the lineup. And I do 110% believe that's got to have a factor in, being a buyer and a seller. Is, if you're going to win games by what you're going to put out there. But ultimately, it comes down to, I think, if Bauer wants to be a Red in the future. If the Reds can sign him for, say, 3 or 4 years, then I think the easy answer is to keep him and try to make a push. I still think this team is capable of doing. Can't stress it enough. But if he isn't really interested in staying, maybe some big market team wants to throw him, I don't know, 28, 29 million. I know, big number, but, free agency, who knows what happens? Who knows what happens with the season being cut short, how much these guys get thrown money in the first place this free agent offseason. That'll be an interesting one, too. But then you have to really take a look at what the position the Reds are currently sitting in at the deadline. And if their struggling continues, and there's a team willing to give up a top prospect, I said a top prospect, not a couple hopeful turnout guys, but some guys with a lot of promise, then I do think you have to consider going down the route of trading Trevor Bauer. And it's a tough pill to swallow, but I just don't think the Reds can continue to deplete the farm system, trading for all these guys, trying to become a contender, but then continuing to come up just short. I like Trevor. I don't want to see him go. And this was a Reds team I came into the season again with high hopes for. So all I'm going to say is I'm glad I'm not the GM. I'm not in that GMing role because I still do think this team can turn it around, but the risk of them not is always there. And the risk of walking out with nothing with Trevor Bauer could be, again, a tough pill to swallow. That's our thoughts. Would love to hear you guys. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.